Hey everyone, and welcome back to a very peculiar corner of history. Tonight, we're going to dim the lights, perhaps light a scented candle, though you'll soon understand why 17th century palaces didn't rely on such pleasantries. We're drifting back to the court of Louis XIV, the Sun King, a man who built the glittering palace of Versailles and ruled France for over 70 years. He was the epitome of power, wealth, and absolute monarchy. But he was also almost certainly one of the least hygienic monarchs in European history. We're talking about a man who, by most accounts, took a grand total of 3 baths in his entire incredibly long life. Yes, you heard that right. 3. So, settle in, get cozy, and let's peel back the layers of perfume, powder, and some very old dirt to uncover the stinking truth. Philosophy: why water was feared. Now, before you jump to conclusions about the entire era, it's important to understand why the Sun King and many of his contemporaries avoided bathing. This wasn't just personal preference, it was medical wisdom of the time. Renaissance doctors had a theory. Water, especially hot water, opened up your pores. And open pores, they believed, were direct gateways for bad humors and diseases to enter the body. The plague was still a terrifying memory, and every medical belief was filtered through the lens of preventing such catastrophic illness. So, a long, hot soak wasn't seen as refreshing. It was seen as an invitation to death. The fewer baths, the safer you were. This might sound utterly bizarre to us today, but remember, germ theory was centuries away. Their understanding of health was based on complex, often flawed, ideas about the body's internal balance. And water, unfortunately, got a bad rap.
These to their noses as they moved through the crowded halls, trying to maintain some semblance of olfactory peace. There are even accounts that suggest some less fastidious members of the court, or perhaps just those overwhelmed by the palace's sheer size, would relieve themselves in hallways or behind tapestries. While often exaggerated, the underlying truth is that waste management and sanitation were primitive by modern standards. The grandeur was often just a thin veil over some very unpleasant realities. Water. Beyond the linen, there was the perfume. Oh, the perfume. Louis XIV's court was drenched in it. Think heavy musks, rose, jasmine, civet, strong, heady scents designed to overpower any less than pleasant odors. He even had a dedicated royal perfumer, the officier de bouche, whose job it was to ensure the king smelled acceptable. And then, of course, there was powder. Not just for the wigs, but for the skin. Fine, scented powders were dusted liberally over the face and body. This was supposed to absorb moisture and leave a clean impression. It was all about superficial presentation, making things appear clean and fragrant, even if the underlying reality was quite different. Louis' daily routine. So, if Louis wasn't bathing, how did he clean himself? Well, it was a meticulous, multi-layered ritual known as dry cleaning. Every morning, the king would undergo a rigorous process involving scented linen. He would have several fresh linen shirts, often beautifully embroidered, changed throughout the day. The linen was believed to absorb sweat and oils, carrying away impurities. It was, in their minds, a much safer alternative too. Now, imagine this routine applied to thousands of courtiers, living in close quarters within the opulent palace of Versailles. The sheer scale of the building might fool you into thinking space meant fresh air, but the reality was far from it. With so many people, many of whom also subscribed to the anti-bath philosophy, the palace must have had a truly unique aroma. It's an irony, isn't it? The most luxurious palace in Europe, a symbol of extreme wealth and refinement, would likely have been quite pungent. To combat this, courtiers carried pomanders, small, ornate balls made of gold or silver, filled with fragrant spices and dried flowers. They would discreetly. If you enjoyed this delve into the aromatic past, please consider gently hitting that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more calming historical explorations. Let me know in the comments what other strange historical habits you'd like to explore. Until next time, drift off peacefully, and try not to think too hard about the smells of 17th century France. Good night.